This is my path, my journey. I'm willing to explain it all to you guys. No holding back anything. I just hope you're ready for the experience, and I just hope you can handle it.
Here's a mess. I really don't care. I just woke up not too long ago. I took my kratom 30 minutes ago. Just smoked. Yeah. So, what do I want to talk about? What I want to talk about, I guess, is I want to talk about some of the different light beings that I've met in DMT space. Let's talk about that. So, for those that don't know, I've dived, I guess because of the whole YouTube censorship, majority of my videos talking about DMT are now going to be on BitChute.com. And, I'll try to get them on Minds as well. Like, I'll post links on Minds. And then I'm also going to try to get them on Steemit and DTube. But, right now they're going everywhere. But I used to talk about DMT a lot because that's the original reason why I started my YouTube channel, is because, I wanted to explain my point of view with DMT and my personal experiences with it. Now, I've had hundreds of experiences with it. So it's not like, it's necessarily something new to me. But out of all these experiences that I've had, I've met many different light beings or interdimensional beings along the way, you could say. And you can almost say I literally got friends in other dimensions, like literally. Because thinking back, so the first being I ever seen, right, was a gingerbread, like, light being. Like, felt masculine in energy. And it was like gingerbread like, and yeah, it was like you were coming up to him, whatever, and it was like he was in the distance, and you were getting closer and closer. But that was the first experience I ever had with an outside entity with DMT, and that was like probably honestly my third or fourth DMT trip, probably. That was very much in the beginning. And then the second beings that I seen was, first off, I guess the first being technically was the fact that I felt like the whole experience itself was conscious. Like, I felt like I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it feels like you're inside of a consciousness. It's not like, but sometimes you can decipher that there's a being there, there's a being there, there's one there, but sometimes even though there's little beings there, it's like the whole experience itself is conscious on a higher level. But DMT is very interesting because to me it's a portal to another place. To me, like, this place is as real as this place. Is the fucking fourth, fifth, sixth, eighth dimensional place that we call DMT space. I feel like is just as real as this 3D dimensional space we call reality. Now, I think reality is just a bunch of layers of dimensions. And in these other dimensions, there's certain molecules that you can take, like DMT, and other molecules can get you there. It's not that they can't, it's just DMT seems to be the one that could, push you the far. And I was taking this very scientifically in a way. It was very scientific, but yet very spiritual and very, because I don't have a real science background, you know what I mean? But so I came in it, with a little doubt as well, a little, skepticism, but that skepticism completely got obliterated once the experience fully enveloped me, you know what I mean? Because it's like, it wasn't the first DMT or the fourth DMT trip that really blew my mind with it. It was, I don't know, seeing all these different beings really started to blow my mind. Feeling these entities, communicating with these entities from other dimensions, and it's like, they don't communicate in English, well, majority of the time. There's the noodle beings that I've met, and these noodle beings are very, noodleish, and it's like I feel like those noodle beings are dead people. Like I feel like those are what we will become when we die. We go to this place, and like, because the first time I met these noodle beings was like in a place that I would call like purgatory. Like it was like in the middle of this realm. It's like where you were waiting to go get judged, and then you were gonna see if you could stay in the fucking light dimension or gotta come back here and the 3D world and get your memory erased type shit. But DMT is absolutely insane though. Like absolutely insane. You know what I mean? It takes a lot to remember some of these experiences too, right? Like I feel like sometimes with DMT trips it's like you have to forget some of your human memories in order to remember some of the DMT trips a little better. It's interesting. But I guess I don't know. I've had a lot of experiences with it, so I'm just gonna get right back into the So these noodle light beings that I seen, they like noodle and wave, and I say noodle light beings because they look like stick figures almost, but like waving and noodles, and I feel like it's like that's your soul, but like young, and maybe as you get maybe this is a little off topic, but maybe as you get there, that noodle you could fill it up with energy and you become fuller or something. Who knows? I don't fucking know. But it's just these noodle beans are interesting because all they do is dance. I don't know how to explain it. They're just moving and noodling and moving and then there was one that kind of there was a DMT trip I had that was really interesting. It connected me on a deep level, and it was really interesting because he just came up to me and he like ducked his like it was like his whole body and was shifted this way, and then he started like dancing in my face and like um and I started laughing, and it was just it was a fun experience with it. That was a connecting experience. That's why I mean I feel like I have friends in other dimensions. um Maybe that was somebody I know. Who the fuck knows? I mean, it's just, it's interesting that these things, it's like, you don't know if these beings are aliens, you don't know if they're dead people, but I personally think, because I've thought these thoughts many times, and I personally think after time and time of doing this, I think that the noodle light beings are dead people. Um, I've also met, um, beings that are more like space gas, like because you see the space gas, right? I meant beings that are more like space gas than and they look like a big blob of gas. But yeah, it was a female entity, and basically I was in space. It was like the DMT trip was like I was in space, kind of like a place like that, and all of a sudden the being I was seeing was this space gas. She engulfed me inside of her, and it became like a complete white light, and it was just absolutely and like beautiful and whatever. And then I had a 3-day connection with this same entity, who showed me herself in many different forms. It was like she showed me herself in like a more physical, human-esque form, but not physical, but because everything in that dimension is made of light. Everything, the beams, the walls, the buildings, the city. It's just hard to explain because then there's a city of light, and that's why I said I think these are dead people, because in the city of light I see a lot of beings that are noodle-like in this place. I see a lot of them. I don't know. Like it's interesting. It's it's absolutely insane because when you're doing DMT, it doesn't feel like a drug. It doesn't feel like it feels like a fucking like you literally just jumped into a completely different reality. A reality where you're not physical anymore. A reality where nothing is physical anymore. A reality where you still exist, you're still living, you still have day-to-day life and something you do every day. Maybe there you work on being a creator of consciousness or what, I don't know what the fuck, but it's not what we do here at all. It is very similar maybe to what shamans do and then what children do, because children play, they have fun, they experience life, they live, they have no worries. It's just like just being, you know what I mean? And those beings tend to just be more, and it's like the way I feel like the reason they're dancing is because they're really enjoying being a soul again without the physical body, because having a physical body, we don't realize that we're like, our soul is like almost like clenched on tightly to the body, and then that release of it, and then you're free again. You can move your soul around without the body. The body's probably heavy on the soul, like, so they're just being free. Now, I think that there's, now the next beings, I guess, would be beings like Mother Ayahuasca. Now, Mother Ayahuasca, I've met first on a DMT trip, and it was absolutely insane. Like, to see this female being. I was in the City of Light, but then I was at this like park in the City of Light, and it's hard to explain. Like, a park is the only way I can describe this place, because it seemed like it was outside, but outside, inside even seemed. I don't know. It was weird. But yet it seemed like it was inside, like the whole place is inside of something. But yet everything's like psychedelic geometry. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. But I'm in this park with this being, and like she's on like this pedestal thing, and like I don't know, like she just turns her head, looks at me, and like like it's almost like we connected telepathically, and she tried telling me some information and knowledge and just love and some other things that I can't really remember right now, to be honest. And like, but then it was like she was showing me around, the light dimension and the city, and but I think that these experiences with these beings that I've had with DMT, it's what's interesting is it's not like so you know how like if somebody was there's this stereotype of like people that let's say people were talking to beings, and let's say somebody said everything I just said but without the use of substances. Let's say they've never done substances ever, and then people see these beings and talk to these beings and whatever. I think that there's a connection, because I think there's a connection with the fact that there's some people that can, I guess, talk to beings or talk to people from other dimensions through their dreams. There are some people that can see them in reality regardless. When we judge these people as crazy, but yet science and other people that don't do psychedelics are willing to listen to people talk about their trips and talk about their experiences. And it's because in a trip, and now if it's substance induced, then that's less scary for people. For some reason it is scary that it is possible that there are other dimensions that have other humanoid beings in there, other intelligence that people can talk to. And people are scared because they can't do it themselves. So if you can't do it yourself, you're scared. Now, the difference is with DMT is you can do it yourself. I'm not telling you to do it at all, but what I am telling you is if somebody wanted to understand what beings they're talking about and what the fuck these people that use DMT are talking about, then they need to, they could just use it. They could just do it. It's not that it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It's most people, if you doubt, it's like, it's like Terrence was said, it's like Terrence said, about the doubter, like the whole Bible story. It's like if you doubt, they'll allow you to put your finger through the wound. But if you don't doubt, then they'll tell you anything. And I think that DMT is different but yet it's the same. Because I do think that these people that talk to beings without DMT, they might be talking to the same beings I'm seeing, but maybe it's just that is the spirit world. If you ask the shamans about it, they'll tell you that yeah, these beings exist. It's just normal. It's like to them, it's like of course they do. Like duh, like because this is what they've known for forever. They never lost their connection with the other dimension. Now I guess to get to these other beings, so there was these beings that I met. There's an experience I had when I took mushrooms and I smoked DMT on the peak of that mushroom trip, and it completely turned into a completely different trip than I've ever experienced before, and I've never experienced a trip like that ever again. But I was basically talking to these beings through the ceiling, right? Me and my friend Twiz, we looked at this. We're basically looking at the ceiling, right? And the ceiling became a portal to another dimension in a way, kind of like I explained it in the video that I made for it. I was talking about kind of like a two-way mirror, like how there's, how cops have that mirror where you see the mirror and you see yourself, but they could see you. It was like that, but it was like, basically the beings on the other dimension can always see us, and we can't see them, though, is the issue. Now, because we can't see them, we don't know they exist. But at that point, the smoking DMT on the peak of the shroom trip, it completely opened up the ceiling into another, to like a two-way mirror, so now they could be seen. And then these beings were like peeking their heads through, and these beings were like, honestly, they were made of light too, or I don't know, or maybe they were made of light because the barrier thing, I don't know, it's hard to explain. There was like that barrier thing that was the two-way mirror. It's hard to explain, but they were like peeking their head in, and like they would look so, some of them were so sad, so sad. Some of them were like angry. Some of them were happy though. Like some of them were just content and fucking, doing their thing, whatever. But some of them were just interested that we could see them, like, cause it was like they were peeking their head in and we were looking at them, and some of them were like, wow, they can see us. But they were like more scaly and more, I don't know, it's hard to explain. They were different though. There was a picture float that I put into my experience for the video I made for that experience, because there was a picture that somebody drew that was like almost a perfect representation of it, because they were like scaly, but yet I don't know, I think that it's almost like they had horns or something. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but they were very different than the other light beings. The other light beings remind me of us, but like out of this world us, like a fucking, like, a non-human us. But these beings reminded me more like, I don't know, like ogres or something, like, I don't know, but like scaly, but yet kind of colorful, and but it was okay because I could feel, just like I said, I could just feel their sadness and just, man, and their pain, and some of them I could feel their happiness though, and it was like, but I just feel like they were just allowing us to kind of telepathically communicate through emotions and feelings. But those beings were interesting. And then there's also man, I don't know. I think that might be it. I've met many different types of beings throughout DMT space. And I mean, I guess that's not it, because I left out the jester beings. There's these jester beings that are like more jestery and more kind of like the ringleaders of circuses, and I don't know, that type of vibe to these guys. Sometimes a clown vibe to it. I remember seeing one being where it was almost like he was just playing, but he was like almost connected. He almost like became the floor, and like became this like geometrical pattern. It was kind of like that type of pattern, but he was like in the middle. But then he kind of came out almost like a Jack in the Box, like that's what it kind of reminded me of. But those type of beings, I feel those are the jester beings, and DMT space is filled with so many different types of entities and beings and things that you can't fathom to imagine, because it's like a fourth dimensional to eighth dimensional knowledge. I mean, it's object or knowledge, trying to bring it back here in the third dimension. It just it doesn't add up to a lot of people. But to the people that have used DMT, and that's different. Like I said, that's the difference between DMT, because there's so many people that talk about this that, to me, like that's insane. That there has to be something to that. Like I wish science would research this more. Like I know that science is researching, with John Hopkins University. Like I know they're starting to do this research, and I know Dennis McKenna's been behind the scenes putting footwork in for psychedelic research, and but man, I wish they would research this shit more. Like, because I personally believe that is, I think that reality is so much goddamn bigger than we could ever imagine. And we're just thinking right now, humanity is thinking on a 3D level. And in order to understand reality, you're probably going to have to think on an 8-dimensional level. So it's like, it's just, I feel like I almost, like I said, back in the day when I was doing this, because I don't use DMT anymore. Like I don't smoke DMT anymore. And it's not that I'm not going to, because I might in the future here, sometime, who knows, in the next year, 2 years, I don't know. I'm definitely want to do ayahuasca more often. Which is technically DMT, but it's slowed down, and ayahuasca is a completely different lesson than when you're smoking DMT. But I just, man, I think DMT has the inner workings of the entire universe inside of it. It's like everything. It's like all the knowledge of humanity is inside of DMT, and not just all the knowledge of humanity, all the knowledge of the universe, the whole universe, everything. It's the key out of the physical into the reality of what is interdimensional travel. I think that in the future here, they're going to be taking psychedelic travel a lot more serious, because quantum physics and quantum mechanics and all these different theories that are coming from quantum physics and quantum mechanics, like there's so many things that they're going to start getting to that are like, dude, interdimensional travel is possible. I mean, they already said that time travel is possible. They just can't create enough energy for it. If time travel is possible, interdimensional travel is also possible. Because time travel is like, you could travel through time because time is in the 3D. It's still the third dimension. So many people say that time is the fourth dimension, and I disagree. I think time only exists in the third dimension, but when you step out of it, I think a fucking time machine might be able to let you step out, and then probably into the fourth dimension it can travel, so you could step out and look at time from a bigger point of view and be able to drop in at a certain time. But all this, like, I got from, in a way, DMT space, from being able to travel through other dimensions with DMT. It's absolutely insane. And there is, like I said, there is scientists that are taking this seriously, because there are too many people that have gone through the same experience or similar experiences that don't even know each other. Like, I guarantee there are people that are like, dude, I've seen this being, and the same being you've talked to, and you've seen this time, I had an experience with a similar being. It's like, there's so many people that are probably thinking that, from watching this video or watching many other videos about psychedelics from other people. Like, this isn't new to us, to the users of these things, but it's new to the skeptics of these things. So that's why things like this are what I feel like we need to be talking about more often, because there are a lot of people that have seen beings in DMT. There are a lot of people that talk about, these beings that they've seen, but we don't talk about it enough, because, like, I personally don't care what people think about me, so I don't care. I just know that DMT is an interesting thing, too, because, so, for example, when you're seeing beings without psychedelics, I feel like you have a more chance of what society would call losing your mind, because they already feel like you've lost your mind because you're not on any substance, but yet you're seeing these beings. So in society's eyes, that's why people get on drugs and antipsychotics and all these things. It's like, because they already think you've lost your mind, when really the humans don't understand the mind. We don't understand that we are interdimensional beings, and sometimes our interdimensional self can creep in the third dimensional self. And that's, what some of that shit probably is. But, it's like with psychedelics, people have the same view, though. I mean, people will sit there and say, you're crazy for believing that. Do you really believe your beliefs? And then there's so many people in the world that, I mean, So many people. I can start naming names of like these famous YouTubers that do it, but that's pointless. But like there's so many people that will sit there and be like, "Oh, well maybe it's not real. It could just be your mind." It's like, man, you know in your heart. You feel it. You know that there's something you can't explain in words in a video and any visuals you want to try to create digitally or whatever. You know that there is something that you cannot explain to people, and it is the feeling of connecting with that thing. Whatever the fucking thing is that you call it, whether it's Mother Ayahuasca, the light beings, all the different beings, the whole experience itself is conscious. No matter what it is, you can't tell me that. I mean, and I guess I'm talking about like high doses of DMT, like 40 milligrams and above, 40 to all the way up to 80 milligrams. You know what I mean? Like those are the doses that like push the fucking, push it to the max. And those are the things that show you what is these beings can like more associate with you at these doses and these levels. At the lower levels, you just have to learn how to push it. But that's another thing. It's a thing that you could learn how to get better at. That's what's interesting. How like it's something you learn like with life. As life goes on, you learn to get better at life, right? You learn like as a baby, shit, you don't even know how to walk. You don't even know how to talk, but you learn all that as time goes on. Just like in that space, it's like you learn as time goes on. The more time you spend in that space, the more you can navigate in that space. The better you can move around in that space. The better you can look around and understand what's going on in that space. And it's just this shit is so much deeper than we could ever imagine. And I think science is going to reach a point where it shatters or it evolves. It's going to reach a point where it breaks or it breaks and falls, or it grows and evolves, because in reality science and with quantum physics is going to hit a point where if it goes any farther, it's in the psychedelic territory. It's in the spiritual territory. It's in the magical territory. It's in the territory that they try to avoid because they try to only, you know what I mean? But it is what it is. And I'm hoping science gets there pretty fast because they are going to have a lot of catching up to do, because us psychedelic, philosophers, us psychedelic psychonauts are way ahead of it when it comes to interdimensional travel and interdimensional understanding and knowledge about this. Because once you experience it yourself, you're like, holy shit, it's different. You can put it on paper and have the equation. Yeah, that's great, but do it yourself and experience it and go to that other dimension. And you're gonna be like, holy fucking shit, like it's absolutely mind blowing. But all these beings that I've met, all these different experiences that I've had, they have touched my soul. But yet, I can still go through life like a normal human being, still go through life, do what I need to do normally. I own a business, I'm getting ready to start another business, I'm living my life, like I got a family. It's like, the difference between, I feel like, it's also self-control, but I think this is DMT on its own. Like, I think DMT, because it only lasts 5-10 minutes, I think that, and our body already knows what to do with it because our body already contains DMT. Naturally, it's naturally containing, it's rolling around DMT right now just to perceive color and to perceive reality the way I'm talking, the way just normal things in life. So since our body already knows what to do with it, I think that that's why it's like it fades away like a dream as well. Like the actual experiences themselves, they start to fade away like a dream, which is why I started recording them and documenting them. Because even though right now I couldn't necessarily tell you my DMT trips because they're all intermingled into, like, if I think back to it, it's like they're all intertwined into like just one experience. All the hundreds of them are just like one experience now, because I couldn't tell you which experience was which and when was this and that was that. But the videos and documentation that I have can, and a lot of detail that I would have forgot is in the documentation, the videos that I made 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So I just, I like to I think that it's important to document these experiences because these experiences aren't being documented by science. So in a way, we got to do this for science. In a way, we got to do this for consciousness. In a way, we got to do this for human understanding because humans don't understand who we are. I really subscribe to what Graham Hancock said about, humans are a species with amnesia. And I agree because we don't remember our history. We have missing links in our history and understanding why humans exist and how we got here in the first place and why we're here in the first place and what is reality and who are we and are we really human and what were we before this and all this shit that humanity and religion and things have been questioning forever is inside of these molecules because these molecules take you to another dimension. It's not about the molecule itself. It's about that this molecule has access to take you to another place that can show you some shit about humanity's history and humanity's future. So I'm going to leave it at that. These beings that I've met have changed my life forever. I absolutely, I wasn't religious before using psychedelics. I was more anti-religious. To be honest, I was kind of going down the path of, trying to be a Satanist and shit. But then I did DMT, and it became loving and understanding that the creator is all. We are all one, but yet at the same time I think that there's that one split itself into two, male and female, and I think that the female entity is Mother Ayahuasca, and that's what I don't pray, but that's what I talk to. That's what I meditate to. That's what I think when I wake up in the morning. That's what I think, when I take an herb or a plant. I thank Mother Ayahuasca for just experiencing life, and I think that she's looking after us all the time because she is the consciousness of the planet, and the planet is here sustaining our life at all times. She is the oxygen we breathe. The planet is all on here right now. So I've kind of just became more spiritual meeting Mother Ayahuasca and connecting with her and connecting with these plants and just so connecting with these beings has impacted my life, but it's not like it's impacted my life in a way where I can't function in reality. It's just impacted my life where I'm a little more spiritual and connected to the plants and Mother Nature, and I understand that she is a conscious being, and I'm not going to pray to another man, but I will pray or talk to the planet and thank the planet for allowing me to be here on it, and for it sustaining my life, and but thank you guys so much. It's a long ass video, but thank you. Peace out.